Hey, fatty! Just kidding. Hey, everybody, Coach Sean, the Rip Grandpa. I'm back with part 4 on my series for the sugar diet. So inside today's video, we're going to talk about how and why keto and carnivore actually created the need for this particular diet. And no matter what diet you follow, I think it's very important that you understand something called the Randall cycle from 1963. And the research studies that I'm going to show you, I think are going to shock you, especially if you're part of the keto or the carnivore community. Number 2, am I on PEDs, performance enhancing drugs? This is a fair question. If you look at my pictures here, a lot of people just assume I'm using steroids or performance enhancing drugs. From 40 to 50 years old, I've stayed shredded, eating lots of carbs, using my Rip Grandpa carb cycling. So we'll talk more about this and whether or not that is playing a role in how I look in these pictures. Number 3, how to use the sugar diet as a lifestyle. So at the end of this video, I'm going to pull up 2 weekly charts that I've developed that Karen and I are going to implement after we do this for 3 or 4 weeks in a row and use ourselves as guinea pigs and experiment on this. Again, I'm not recommending anybody do this. We're just sharing how our bodies are reacting. And of course, thousands of people are doing it. So let's get people educated and all support each other so that we can grow, learn, and get better results faster. So you can screenshot the weekly schedule that I'm going to give you if you want to give it a try. And again, this is all experimental, but it's based on my 20 plus years of experience doing this. I mean, if we look at dieting in general, right? I'm the head of the over 50 division at Superhuman. We've transformed over 6,000 men, and now women are coming into the equation. We get them completely shredded. And you want to know the one diet that these guys and these women all follow? They follow the one that works best for them. The one that can be used as a lifestyle. So there's dozens of ways to skin the cat, so we have to keep an open mind and be supportive. So let's keep the conversation going below. Share resources, stories, negative or positive, that's fine. Just no trolls. We're here to support each other. So a quick summary right here of the sugar diet. I found out that this actually originated from something called the honey diet. But the whole goal is to convert your body to an isolated glucose burning metabolism versus a fatty acid metabolism. And when these two are competing against each other, it's trouble. And I'm going to share here in a second why. But a fatty acid metabolism is basically ketosis, or what you do with a keto or a carnivore diet. If you want to screenshot these bullets, it might help you. It kind of just gives you a little bit of a summary on how we're doing the diet. You know, we're consuming liberal amounts of sugar from fructose and sucrose from the time we wake up until about 5 p.m. And then according to anabiology, this is the faceless guy who kind of brought awareness to the honey diet. And according to him, the fastest way to speed up your metabolism is to consume pure honey, maple syrup, or cane sugar. Now, when I woke up this morning, I had 8 ounces of apple. I'm used to fasting, by the way, so this is weird for me. But I drank 8 ounces of apple juice. I put a tablespoon of honey and a tablespoon of maple syrup. I had a grapefruit and put a teaspoon of sugar on it. And I did not need coffee. My energy is insane, like Cole would say. So it's interesting to see how this is affecting my body. Now, again, I'm only in week 2. I'm down like 3.5 pounds, but yesterday I ate over 400 grams of carbs and was easily in a surplus. And I woke up this morning and I felt leaner. So it's interesting. Stay tuned and I'll be sharing more. Now, the next best choice is going to be fruit juice, but we prefer whole fruits. We like to chew, and over the last couple days, we started adding in a lot more juice, and both of us got poop soup. So we're on the toilet with the runs. Now, people were commenting on my last videos saying that our microbiome in our gut is adjusting and we're cleaning out our bowels. I don't know how much merit this has, but it's something that I'm going to keep my eye on and research more and keep you guys posted. The whole key to making this work is fats must be in the basement. We keep them below 30 grams a day. We've eliminated all fatty foods except for on weekends when we take a break because I miss my bacon and eggs, damn it. So vegetables are fine too. We do about an 80-20 ratio of fruits to vegetables. She's a veggie freak, so she had to cook up a bunch of veggies yesterday. And again, no oil or butter or fat on any of this stuff, right? Fat has to be in the basement unless it's an off day. So you need a lean protein backload. That's what we're doing around 5 p.m. We start adding in lean sources of protein with starches and vegetables for dinner. You can still do fruits too, but I'm sweeted out by that time. I'm looking forward to my starches. Karen's doing 100 grams of protein. I'm doing 125 to 150 grams of protein. Now, a lot of people are asking, won't you lose muscle on such low protein? But if you look at bodybuilders that get on stage and are shredded to the bone, at least 90 to 95% of them do an ultra low fat diet. Their fats are usually around 10, max 15%. Their carbs are usually 60% or higher. And so they have moderate amounts of protein. And the reason they can do this and look so huge outside of performance enhancing drugs is because carbs are muscle sparing. So the more carbs you have in your diet, the more your muscles protected, your glycogen levels inside muscle tissue, the energy is so full from all the carbs that you're eating. And on top of that, not only are carbs muscle sparing, they protect muscle, they slow down protein turnover. So it's a double thing that they can do here to help you lower your protein intake and not worry about losing muscle. Now, these cuts of meat got to be super lean. I mean, even 95.5 beef we found has too much fat. So if you're going to do dairy, low fat or fat free only, Mark Smelly Bell talks about how he doesn't do dairy because it has fat in it, but there's fat free dairy. I've been crushing the fat free Greek yogurt. And putting some fruit in it. And then, of course, starches. So it's nice at the end of the day, you get to bring in starches, but there's no fat in these starches, right? Rice, potatoes, beans, sourdough, oats, stuff like this. Now, according to Cole Robinson, people who have more than like 25 pounds to lose should consider juice fasting or fruit fasting for days on end. I mean, he's having people do juice fast for weeks on end that have lost 100 pounds. I'm not recommending anything. Again, you're all grown up, right? We're all grown up. You're making your own decisions here. I'm just letting you know he's seeing great results from people doing this. Now, a side note, leaner people, okay? Depending on your metabolic flexibility and your cellular health, leaner people who get hypoglycemia after consuming fruit early in the day should try to increase their fruit to glucose ratio by adding in cooked starches like white rice, rice cakes, or other glucose-based powders like dextrose or glucose powder itself. Something that's glucose dominant should be brought in if you're already on the leaner side and you're having that side effect. So new insights and updates, key points here. I just want to make a statement on this before I dive into the Randall cycle. People who demonize the dangers of healthy raw cane sugar, they are acting like it's donuts, cookies, cake, ice cream, and candy bars. These are two different planets. They're not the same thing as fructose and glucose. And a perfect example of this is bears coming out of hibernation reverse their diabetic state by eating loads of honey. And by the way, I'm not sending these videos off to my editing team for 4 to 6 days. I'm just firing up my camera with some notes and going at it and doing one take. I'm not even editing these. So when I goof up and flub up, I'll go ahead and put a pinned comment below if I make any claims or I say anything that's inaccurate, all right? Now, sugar consumption itself, this is huge, has dropped dramatically at the same time the obesity rates have risen. Now, if we look at the Australian paradox from 1980 to 2003, this is the perfect example because obesity rates tripled at the same time sugar intake dropped 23%. Now, quick credit to Chris Walker. He did a video on how sugar is the ultimate antioxidant. Incredible video if you get a chance to watch it. He actually talks about how our bodies need sugar to produce our number one antioxidant, glutathione. And of course, our bodies also need glucose to convert T4 to T3 in the liver. So our thyroid hormones need it. And I don't want to go down a rabbit hole and digress on that right now, but just understanding hormonally and metabolically, when you avoid glucose for extended periods of times, it can lead to some challenges. Now, how and why keto and carnivore created the need for the sugar diet and understanding this Randall cycle that I was talking about in some research studies. So the foundation of this is from my hidden number one Rip Grandpa mechanism for faster fat loss. And that is, no matter what diet you follow, always remember this. When fats and carbs are eaten together, it will lead to more fat storage. So my rule of thumb has always been since 2008, 2009, when carbs are up, fats are down. When fats are up, carbs are down. So if I'm eating starches or fruits in a meal, I'm eating a leaner cut of meat or protein. If I'm eating a lot of fats in a meal or a fatty cut or a lot of oil, I'm keeping starches and fruits out of that meal 90% of the time. Keeps my body in more of a fat burning environment. It promotes less fat storage, and you'll automatically just consume less calories without even realizing it. Now, reminder, regardless of what diet you follow, this is the summary. Fats and starches and sugar in the bloodstream at the same time is one of the root causes of belly fat and insulin resistance. This is something that people don't know. The body loves carbs and fats separately. And I want to thank people who were commenting on my last video, bringing my awareness to the Randall cycle. I didn't realize back in 2008, 2009, when I came up with this concept, I understood it, but I didn't know there was a name for it. Because once you combine fats and starches together, or fats and sugars together, you interrupt your body's normal pathways and mechanisms. And this is what can lead to fat storage, inflammation, and disease risk. And this is the summary of the Randall cycle. So this refers to the antagonism between glucose and fats for fuel, which explains why one can become insulin resistant if one avoids carbohydrates. So let's talk about this. But first, real quick, what about things like the zone diet, 40, 30, 30? Nothing wrong with those. I mean, as long as you're in a deficit and you like it and you can adhere to it, more power to you. I just think you're going to be hungry a lot. And there's nothing wrong with that either. Sometimes hunger's okay. If you ever want a six-pack, you're going to experience hunger, let me tell you. Sometimes, too, when you get a hunger pang, just remember that's ghrelin pulsing. Ghrelin's a precursor to growth hormone. So sometimes you just got to associate being hungry that it's okay. It's actually a positive outcome sometimes. But on this diet, the second you get hungry, you just eat more. That's what I love about it. But I think the zone diet can work. It's just going to be harder because you do have to be in a deficit regardless of what diet you're following. This one might turn that on its head. Time will tell. Now, questions to ponder. Why do you need fat in your diet? Because people are asking this. What about my hormones? What about my fat intake? Why do you need it in your diet when you have it on your body to utilize and burn off? I mean, it's stored fat your body can use. Right? Why would God make food in nature like fruit harmful? So many people talk about too much fruit causes fatty liver. Well, not if there's not fat there. I mean, it's called fatty liver because of fat. So if you're eating sugar in isolation without fats, then that doesn't even matter, right? Also, there are 0 high carb, high fat foods that can be found in nature. Think about it. It's one or the other. Avocados have some fat and carbs together, but if you look at the carb content, 90% of those carbs are fiber, so they don't trigger an insulin response. And so nature is showing us that we don't want to combine these two nutrients together. So if you take anything out of this video, just make sure that when fats are up, carbs are down, and when carbs are up, fats are down, and you're going to get better results regardless of the diet that you follow. Now, why and how keto and carnivore created the need for the sugar diet? So most people don't know this, but fatty acids from fatty foods block glucose uptake. Okay, this goes back to the rule I just talked about. This decreases cells and tissues' sensitivity to insulin. Okay, so when you have these two nutrients or macronutrients in the bloodstream at the same time, and you completely eliminate glucose from your diet and go into extended periods of ketosis, over time, your cells and your tissues decrease their sensitivity to insulin. So when you bring carbs back into your plan, they're almost resistant to it. That's insulin resistance. And this also increases glycation in ages, which are linked to diabetes and accelerated aging. So if you have fats and starches or fats and sugars in your bloodstream a lot, it's going to age you faster and can potentially lead to diabetes. Now, sugar in isolation does not do this. So all of this is food for thought for extended periods of ketosis, because the bottom line is if you stay in ketosis for too long, it can lead to insulin resistance. And the science actually confirms this at this point. Now, again, if it's not broke, don't fix it if you're doing those diets and you're biased to that diet. That's fine. But when it stops working, remember this, please, because it eventually probably will happen. Now, other extended or other side effects of extended ketosis have been shown, right? You can't convert T4 to T3 in the liver. Your body needs glucose to produce thyroid hormones that your body's cells can receive and use. This drives your metabolic rate, regulates your body weight and your body temperature. Oxidative stress, and even cortisol. Extended periods of cortisol can be, raised for chronically is bad. Short bursts of cortisol are fine. Fasted exercise is a perfect example, releases adrenaline and growth hormone. But sugar and carbs in general put cortisol in the basement. That's why people who eat carbs at dinner time sleep better, because suppressing that cortisol increases melatonin and serotonin. Now, my opinion, many will argue, is our body loves to run on glucose more effortlessly than ketones. That's my opinion. I know the keto and the carnivore cult will argue with me left and right about this, but our brains, organs, and tissues all easily use glucose, but you have to force your body to run on ketones. It's not instinctively part of our nature. This is why I think gluconeogenesis takes place. If you don't give your body glucose, it immediately starts converting your protein into glucose. It's not efficient, but your body wants to do that because why? Because it wants to run on glucose. So ketosis is really just a form of metabolic stress, and most people don't realize this. Now, the keto and the carnivore community Just a side note, they have made millions off of this narrative. So being open-minded to something like the sugar diet is probably a non-negotiable for most because of their livelihood. It depends on it, right? So number 2, am I on PEDs? So you can see here, this is me at 48 years old before I started testosterone therapy. So all these first 5 pictures, I'm natural, I'm natty, okay? Full transparency, I did a cycle of steroids when I was 23 years old. I gained a bunch of muscle, and I was the only one of my buddies that was smart enough to keep it. They kept on partying, and I was smart enough to have a post-cycle therapy in place to make sure I kept all that muscle. So that was over 31 years ago. I did a cycle of steroids, full transparency. Then, when I was 50, my testosterone levels had declined for 3 years in a row. My free and total testosterone levels had declined for 3 years in a row. Now, I had spent these from 40 to 48 years old, all the way up to 50 years old. Those 10 years, I did a half a tab of something called Clomid, which is an anti-estrogen. That allowed me to free up more of my testosterone, because what was happening is I had like 680 total testosterone, but my free testosterone was around 6 or 7. So all mine was bound up and wasn't being utilized. My utilization was poor. So that allowed me to get my free testosterone back up towards 14 or 15 from the time I was 40 till I was 50. And so I bought 10 years without doing any PEDs or TRT. Now, testosterone replacement therapy, I started when I was 50 after that 3-year decline. I made a decision because I wanted to restore my testosterone to normal levels. It's not a magic bullet or a quick fix. You don't magically wake up shredded. You still got to put in the work. And so there is my rant on PEDs. Testosterone replacement therapy does not work unless you do. And if you're a man and you're watching this and you want higher testosterone levels, the number one thing you should do is lose the gut, because belly fat's the number one cause of low testosterone. Once you lose the gut, if you still have issues with testosterone, then it's time to consider TRT as medicine. Okay, that was a little bit of a digression there. Lastly, guys, thanks for hanging in there. I know we're getting long, so if you're still watching this, super grateful. Thank you. Make sure you drop some feedback below and hit a like for me. So how to use the sugar diet as a lifestyle. So here are 2 charts that you can screenshot, okay? So the first chart you can see here, I have Monday through Sunday on top, so days 1 through 7. I've color-coded them. So the blue is going to be my sugar load days, or sugar fasting days. I like to call them sugar loading because that's really what you're doing. You're not fasting from sugar, you're loading it, but I understand the semantics. And so you can see there on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Saturdays, I'm going to do a carb deplete day. So this is our super high protein, moderate fat, no starches or fruit day. I'm allowed a piece of fruit in the post-workout window just to suppress cortisol, and I'll probably use intermittent fasting on those days. I don't recommend you fast on the sugar diet because the whole idea is to get your liver using that fructose and that sucrose right away when you wake up to get your metabolic furnace cranking as fast as you can. So time will tell, but I'm not using fasting at all on the sugar diet. I just don't think it's a good thing to do right now. Time will tell here, like I said. But carb deplete days, I'm going to go 1 gram per pound of my goal body weight on protein, right? So you can see here, starches are 0 unless it's post-workout. I'm having under 50 grams a day of impact carbs. And then, of course, down the bottom here, I weight train on the blue columns. I do cardio on the yellow columns. And I hit legs on Sunday. So Sunday's going to be a carb load day or a free day where I can get a cheat meal. I'm going to have carbs are going to be super sky high. Fats are going to be really, really low. And then I'm probably going to have a cheat meal, and that's when everything will go out the window. I'll probably combine fats and starches together with something like pizza. So nothing wrong with doing that as long as you're being good the other 5 or 6 days of the week, right? So hopefully this gives you a little snapshot of how I'm going to do it. Here's my second one, because I want to experiment with the every other day one versus just doing 3 days in a row, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday of the sugar load diet or sugar fasting, right? Then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, deplete that glycogen. Put the carbs in the basement instead of the fats. Get the fats up, helps with hormonal health. It's more of a deficit type of day, and we're depleting glycogen. So on deplete days, we're getting rid of some of the glycogen and muscle. And then on the sugar loading days and on the carb load day on Sunday, which by the way, you can swap with Saturday or Sunday. You can swap those around if you want. So your body's ability to deplete and replenish glycogen from carbohydrates inside muscle and liver tissue can make you more metabolically flexible. makes your cells healthier, it makes your metabolism healthier, it makes your fat burning efficiency better. And so I like this setup: 3 days in a row of loading, 3 days in a row of depleting, and then a cheat day just to give yourself a metabolic reset and a break. And then 3 days in a row of carb depleting can potentially lower leptin and thyroid hormones as well. So having that Sunday where you're going to up those carbs and have a cheat meal can reset those hormones. So hopefully you got a lot out of this video. Time is our most precious commodity, everyone. I'm always grateful when people take time to watch my videos. So thanks for watching. It was a long one. Keep going strong.